If you have been in Tokyo, this is our building in Omotesando area. We also work with firms like Toyota or Nissan or Panasonic and this kind of big companies. Also nowadays we have a lot of projects in China as well. This is the recently finished cultural facility in I don't remember where it was. It was Shenzhen maybe. Some of the schools, university, this is one in located in north of Tokyo. And then we also did the University of Indonesia, the medical school project. This was also funding with JICA. More schools, some art college or elementary school, and one below, we worked with Kengo Kuma as a design architect, and we worked together. And actually, Kengo Kuma used to be working at our office when he was young. Some of the cartoon museum, as a Japanese architect, we are happy to work with the cartoon museum in North Sendai actually. And if you are a big Studio Ghibli fan, we did a museum in Tokyo. And some of another project, very famous museum in Tokyo, done by Kisho Kuroka, we worked with them as well. Also, this is completed this year, Ghibli Park. It's first phase one opened this year, and so next time you come to Tokyo, to Japan, it's actually near Nagoya, former Aichi Expo site. So you can visit this too. We are the architects. Actually, the Studio Ghibli did all the concept, and someone had to draw the drawing. We did it. And some small project. This is near Oshima, the common jellyfish aquarium. Very small project. This exhibit only just the jellyfish. It's beautiful project. Some of the cultural center and sports facilities. As we had the 2020 Olympic, this was the one below. It's the Musashinomori Sports Center, and this hold badminton competitions. I think you guys are very good at badminton. Huh? As a Japanese architect, of course, we can work on a project like Consense. I wish I can go there now. So, 2023, what is happening in Tokyo now? You think that Tokyo is done already? But not yet. So those are the numbers, figures that I just showed that they currently under construction or under planning or recently completed project. So now after finishing all the project done in the early 20s, late 90s, we are redeveloping the city completely. Some of the examples, this is where our office is. And then this is, it's going to be open this year, done by OMA. We didn't work on this project, but our office is in front. So next time you come to Tokyo, you can visit this building as well. So the whole this area is going under this redevelopment. Okay. This is near our office project. It's called Azabudai Hills. This is going to be open again also this year. And then you have seen probably this image. It's done by Hezawi. We worked with Hezawi. And this whole building is going to be tallest at some point in Japan as well. It's going to be completed this year. Mixed use, huge project and hyper expensive project. Other new project in Shinagawa area. We have already a Shinkansen going from Tokyo to Nagoya to Osaka, this blue line. But now we are creating the new line called linear motor cars. That's currently Tokyo Nagoya takes about 1 hour and a half, and we can shrink it to 40 minutes. So first line is going to complete in 2027, and then after that, I think it takes another 3 years to finish. So this huge project, we are working on the development. Actually, there's a new station here. That's also done by Kengo Kuma, and then we're going to start building 4 buildings and another 3 on this side. It's a huge project. You can see the scale of the city. Around Tokyo Station, it's called Nihonbashi Tokyo Station area. And this Tokyo Station was completed probably like 20 years ago, completely renovated as original type. And this area has been developed. This is what it is now. And then by 2030, those yellow buildings is going to be developed, constructed. And the yellow red marked one is the one that done by us. This is the project in front of the Tokyo Station, this building, which was completed last year. And this part is Tokyo Station. Actually, this roof is done by Nikken City, the other one. Don't get confused with our one. This is a project that we did. So, Nihonbashi area. Yesterday, one of our friends took us to this point zero of Jakarta, 0 kilometers or something like that. It's similar to one in Nihonbashi. Nihon in Japan, as I said, Bashi in Greece. So, Japan Beach is our point zero. So this is a photo, image that's showing around Edo Pier.
Ini semuanya soalnya nyalain wifi.
And this is
Lalu sebanyak ini, Mas. Ini aja error-error, nggak kuat.
This image is coming from also Edo period, showing the Mitsukoshi, original Mitsukoshi stores. And then this is Mitsukoshi, what it is now. So they still have it in a store in the same area. So since like 18th century, Tokyo fabric hasn't changed much. So this image is coming from 1960s when we hosted the first Olympic. So as we are recovering from the World War II, we didn't have enough infrastructure. So this highway, this ugly highway, had to be built very quickly. Then back then, these rivers are very dirty, so they want to hide it as well. So why don't we put the highway there, and then we covered all this dirty part to the guests. That's how we did. It's very ugly. No? So this is a very, very crazy project that we are working on. So nowadays, because of the improvement of environment, the river gets really clean. So now we can kind of see the river, and the river is kind of nice to be walk around. Probably you have been on the river side. I've seen some students was walking around. So this similar concept that we would like to achieve, but what we're gonna do with this ugly harvest? So, like showing here, this pink one is the one that we have it currently now. Then we're gonna rebuild this highway embedded in the underground, and then we're going to create this nice boardwalk in around 2020, hopefully 2030. Hopefully this continues faster than we think. So in the future, if you come to Tokyo, you possibly be able to enjoy this boardwalk of this canal that we had it since the Edo period. It's kind of nice, I think it's So Tokyo. Let's look at some of the examples comparing with other cities like Hong Kong or New York and Tokyo. Size-wise, this yellow marked one is Tokyo.
Nggak apa-apa, nanti tak ambil aja ini udah, tak tinggal aja ini.
But in fact, New York is consisted with 5 boroughs, like 5 areas. New York City, Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, and Long Island City. So size-wise, Tokyo is more or less like the size of the New York City. Compared to Singapore, maybe it's easier for you. It's just more or less like this size. But in terms of the economic areas, it expands about 70 kilometers to 60 kilometer wide. So that's kind of like support the economic movement of the Tokyo area. It's quite big, no? So this is research done by Mori Institute. It's Global Power City Index. This is an indicator, the research, for example, the economy that has like 100 points, R&D, cultural interaction, livability, environment, and accessibility. And they created this kind of hexagons and how the cities changes depends on the context. For example, like, let's see, like, academic resource, how many researchers you have, what kind of institute you have, to like cultural facility. the number of museums and all this is compared. So this shows the major city is ranked in the top 20. So London first, New York second, Tokyo first, Singapore. Compare in Asian countries, Tokyo, starting from Tokyo, and then Hong Kong 13th, Beijing, KL, and Jakarta ranked number 45. And then one of the reason that this is coming from 2021. So this was during the pandemic. Tokyo was never ranked in the top 3, but due to this sanitary situation, or surprisingly, the different work style. For example, during the pandemic, we probably have experienced it, but we are able to work at home, and then we realize we can do this, no? So still, we continue this kind of work style. So now our office, for example, has half of the week we go to the office, and half of the week we can work at home. Also, we kind of rented some shared space. So then now the work style has started to change. So that's also pushed us in the higher ranking. Population-wise, this is showing the greater area of each cities. Tokyo ranked in the number 1, 30 million people. It's a lot. Since the image showing from 1720, and it was in the Edo period, we already had 1 million population back then. And still, Tokyo is crowded. If you have been in Tokyo, this is famous crossing of Shibuya. So, unfortunately, Tokyo was devastated a couple of times. This is one of the biggest fire that we had in 1657. And then 10% of the population died because of fire. Back then, most of the buildings were made by paper and wood. So it was easy to get burned. And then because of this fire, 60 to 70 building was destroyed. Another big one, 1923, the Great Counter Earthquake. Size of the earthquake was magnitude 7.9. And actually, this building was not destroyed because of the earthquake, but because of the fire. So, 2/3 of the building was completely destroyed, and Tokyo became flat. Another time is World War II, 1945, because of the attack from American armies. Again, Tokyo was completely flat. We were devastated. So, this is crazy image. Only 3 buildings was there. And this is Mida River. We still have the same river. And then after 70 years, Tokyo looked like this. So after the World War II, the government introduced this idea of 8 ring road, starting from the center of the city. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and this was introduced as a concept. And if you see, compare this map, where basically the river is, it's the currently that we have we plan the road. But of course, as we lost the war, we didn't have money at all. So original plans, referring the Washington DC master planning. First, they decided to go with 100-meter wide, 7 lanes street. Also 8 meters wide, 2 lanes, plus some green zones was planned in 1946. But as we didn't have money, so no one could push this idea. So after all, in 1955, they decided to shrink all this wider road into 25-meter roads. And then only one road in this area was 44 meters, except all this road, most of the street was shrink into 25-meter wide. Yet these also streets never really get to realize, and then After the government didn't have money, so private developer decided to develop their own. That's how some of the part of the area, limited area, was developed. And then this all connected to this train, invested by private companies. That's one of the key of the Tokyo city planning. So after planning from 100 meter, now shrink to 25. But actually, this 25-meter wide street is quite a good scale in terms of the city. Because if you have this 100-meter wide street, you kind of divide the city. Maybe you have a big road inside of the Jakarta as well. So if you have this big road, it's completely divide one area to another. So people never go this neighborhood to this neighborhood. Versus 25 meters, it's far enough and close enough to go one neighborhood to one neighborhood. So that's what kind of like a miracle that we had because of the lack of money. Comparison with Shanghai, this is showing the subway legs, total subway legs, also comparing with other big cities. So Shanghai has the longest line combining, and Tokyo is ranking number 7. But this is very important point. It's number of users per day. Tokyo is ranking number 1. So now the city like Shanghai is trying to make people to use public transportation to reduce the traffic. And this is the kind of density of how much train or subway station stops are. It's the same scale of the city. Compared to Shanghai, for example, in 10 kilometers radius, Tokyo has 480 stops. And then Shanghai only has 190. So you can see how dense this subway mesh is. So this was a Chinese TV company did a special program about Tokyo, this city planning, and then what is going on in Tokyo now. And they call it the Tokyo Miracle. So cities like Shanghai, basically Jakarta the same, it's suffered with this heavy traffic jam. But Tokyo improved compared to 30 years ago. How come? How did it do? How we did it? So analysis was fast. As I show you, this public transportation mesh was quite dense. And then also most of people takes public transportation versus private cars. So as we have this dense mesh subway, most of people take subways. So that improves this traffic conditions. And another reason is parking lot is very expensive. About $5. How much is $5 in rupiah? 90,000 rupiah per 12 minutes. How expensive the parking lot is in the center of the city. So the maintenance cost of car is very high, so no one actually really want to take the cars. And also, as the street was narrower, about 25 meters, we were not able to have a street parking also. And then what is happening in Shanghai is this area, you have to, if you want to go to one area to another area, you have to take the subway. So the development of the street is more linear. Versus Tokyo has many subway stops, so it's kind of create the area instead of the linear movement. So people like, for example, if I am here, and then if I want to go somewhere there, okay, the first thing I do is I locate myself so we can get it to the next station. So by doing this, Tokyo become an area that you can walk around. So this is a photo showing Tokyo Tower going up in 1958. I like this photo, so I wanted to try to show this. So naturally, with this, some miracles happened. Tokyo became a walkable city. It's fun to walk. I have a friend, and she's sitting somewhere there. She was visiting Tokyo last week, and every day she was walking 20,000 steps every day. And here she never takes, she always takes car, she never walks. So you can see that how fun Tokyo is to walk around. So this is one of the last topic that I want to talk about. It's one of the projects I'm working on, the neighborhood called Nakano. So like I said, Tokyo is going on the many redevelopment projects. We say that it happens once in every 100 years. So Nakano is another one that is happening. This is the Nakano Sun Plaza project done by Nikken Sekkei, not us, Nihon Sekkei, us. Nikken Sekkei. Actually, it's a great project. They have a concert hall here. And then I heard that from Jakarta you cannot build anything underground, but we are able to build underground. So halfway underground concert. And this was done by 73. And this got old and has some issue with the seismic proof and everything. So this owner decided to renovate, make a new one. So just look at a little bit explanation about what is Nakano neighborhood is. Nakano is relatively in the smaller scale. It's a little bit west of Shinjuku business area. So the size of the scale of the city is quite small. So a lot of small buildings. The next is they kind of develop their own charming areas, street, and without bars and small bars and cafes. If you come to Tokyo, you should visit this area. It's very charming. Also, we said that it's a crossing with the past. If you are a big figure or anime fans, there's a building called the Nakano Broadway that they collect any kind of figures. So there's a lot of people that otaku people goes in this neighborhood to buy those figures. So they're kind of like meeting in the past and the present. Another thing is very famous in Nakano area is art. Have you seen the Takashi Murakami's painting? He has a gallery here also. So there's a lot of contemporary artists who live here and they work here as well. Another good special aspect of Nakano is they have developed this arcade shopping street, and it's full of people every day instead of going to the big shopping mall. Then again, that I said this 2006 Nakano Sun Plaza concert hall. This is actually originally we call it the J-pop Mecca. So a lot of J-pop artists did concert since they opened. Okay, good. So this red area is our properties that we were given. And currently, as like I said, we have this big concert hall, 2006. Nakano is here. And currently we have a city hall, Nakano World Office, and tax bureau office next to it, and also across the street, we have a public sports center. So given this site, what are we gonna do? First, we have to do something. Then, where is the signal? Okay, here. So, like I said, once in 100 years development, one reason is that compared to this, you can see the scale of the city, what we have, to be another space is to make more open space, so people can hang out in the neighborhood. So that creates a higher market value, and then eventually population grow. Then eventually they get more taxpayer money.
Maybe 5 minutes, I think.
I probably can finish 7 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. So this is the currently we have this is the taking from the Google photo. So first step we have to move some of the building. One of the first step we did was first moving this sports center to this. We have a park here. This is the cross side of the site. This area is owned by government, Tokyo Metropolitan Government. This is owned by Nakano World Office. Then our project site was here. This is sewage, some office for the sewage. This is how it looks like inside. So this building was used for the table tennis, ping pong, training facility when we had the Olympics. They didn't host the games, but the training facility. And the next step. So now the sports complex is gone. So now we have an empty road. So now what we did was this city hall was moved to cross the street. This is one rendering showing this is new city hall. Usually city hall has a lot of windows, offices, it's quite boring. So we wanted to bring something new. So this looks a little bit influenced with this kind of like sick image. So people want to, doesn't feel like scared of being in a public space. So this is for the one the design we did. Construction photos. This was taken in last month. We finished all the structure and now we're going to start doing the facade. So finally, this road is empty now. So now we can start demolishing what we have. Then eventually tax bureau's office is going to come to our project as well. So first step was moving to this sports facility here. And then second step was moving city hall here. The third step, demolishing here, and then building a new one. This is what it is. This is the site plan that we have. So this large development project, we have this concept, culture-driven city of Nakano 100. So we have to think about how this building can sustain the next 100 years. So one of the topic or concept that we focus on is walkable city. It's fun to walk. People want to enjoy this walking experience in Nakano neighborhood and different functions. Also, we wanted to keep this DNA of J-pop mecha thing. So creating a new concept hall, keeping the DNA of Nakano Sun Plaza hall. Then also creating green network and then focus on the podium design. Then again, how to sustain next 100 years. Instead of going one big tower and stacking on top of each other as what they have it now, we decided to go a little bit more area-wide development. So this big tower has one the symbol, but then this concert hall area has relatively lower height buildings and hotels here, and then some of the plaza area. And then all the project is connected with this third floor pedestrian deck. So the biggest difference, I was working with one of the projects in Jakarta. Then as a Japanese architect, we wanted to create a lot of public space. Like naturally that we have that, like from day one we think about that. But our client said, put the gate, close the project. So it was talking for me, like if it's in Japan, we try to have open space. Everything is open. This is the bottom of our office building. This you can access there for free. It's open to the 24 hours, and anyone can use this kind of space. So also private developer wants to create this kind of like public space. That brings a better neighborhood, and then that creates this development as a better market value. And then eventually the price of the property goes up, and this influences a lot of things.
Maybe one more minute.
Okay, I go quickly. This is the section of the project. The top floor is the office, residence, and some of the retail and basement parking, concert hall. We also in our local code allows extra FAR, floor area ratios, if you invested something good for the public. For example, like the housing, high quality housing, because now Tokyo has a lack of hotels, so put more hotels or indoor public space. And if you contribute this much of space, you get extra FAR. So giving something to the public, you get more higher the FAR. Another thing was, as we have this symbolic building currently, we wanted to have some of the legacies. This is one of the competition, during the competition study, we were discussing, are you going to have this triangle or not? And then we said, okay, we're going to have this triangle. Then, where are we going to have it? This was one of the study that I had, we did in the middle of the competition. If we go with this or we go higher. And then the client didn't like to have it disturbing any view of the residential area, so we had to go with the higher. This is a view like in the sunny day we can see non-diffusive from the top. And so some of the public area we created plazas, 3 plazas connected with pedestrian gate. Anyone can enter, no gate. And we have this, we call it a big crossing of the each function meets. Also there's a bus terminal here, and then there's a train running like so. So you can see this building from the train as well. In front, as this is in front of the train station, we have to have an open space here so people can meet each other. So this is some of the study that we did. Also, trying to break down this big scale, having these big canopies. Try to go down to the city scale of Nakano. From here it's more images. This is we call it the cultural crossing intersection, the actual images. And another thing that we wanted to bring was this green space. Nakano already have these 2 big parks. One is Shiki no Mori Park. Shiki means 4 seasons. Mori means forest, so 4 season park. Then Heiwa no Mori means Peace Forest Park. So if you have 2, people ask 3, no? So that's why we decided to go with this Sun Plaza no Mori, Sun Plaza Forest. But we didn't have a space, so we kind of did these stepped gardens on this side. So people can go hang out, have some coffee there, things like this. This is one image showing the some pocket parks. Night views. Again, looking from the station side, we call it this is kind of red carpet to the whole people. View towards the Nakano neighborhood. More images of the public space. This is an image showing when we have the concert hall, how people gather. Daytime. Looking from the city hall area, from the station. This is it. Thank you so much.
Di sini punya siapa? Layar oh gitu. Apa ya?
Okay, maybe we can start. Kita Yuki then. Okay, maybe we can start.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, I'm Yuki from Japan. I'm so happy to meet you all on this special opportunity. And first, I would like to thank you to the UII and everyone involved in this event for providing you such a wonderful venue. And so today I would like to share with you my architecture journey as an Asian female architect. I am currently 38 years old. I studied architecture for a total of 6 years at an art university and graduate school in Japan. It has been 14 years since I graduated and 20 years since I first met architecture. I am an omniverse architect based in Tokyo. Why omniverse? I am not a pure architect because not so much design work as an individual architect. My journey has taken me from designing as a team, many exhibitions and organizing them, including the installation and the urban planning for the construction city after the earthquake, natural disaster, and the historical library preservation project as a researcher at the University of Tokyo. Carpentry experience on my own project of exterior wall renovation, and some current international activities, education at the International Architecture Convention and United Nations Innovation Lab and the Architecture Extra. So it's a bit complicated. I don't know what is my really job. I'm still exploring and exploring how I myself can relate to a wide ocean of architecture. And I hope that my journey is still in progress, but it's led me to something good in the future. And I was born and raised in Shibuya, Tokyo. It is my parents' house is just 10 minutes walk from Shibuya's Grand Square, and you may have seen this crazy scene, people and people and people. I grew up seeing the scenery every day. Shibuya was a commercial area, a town where not many families lived, very few children. There were no regular elementary schools to go to all the way from the enrollment to graduation. The landscape of building in the city has looked the same for a long time now, but the contents keep changing. Stores, restaurants, part of the commercial facilities are replaced as every year for economic reasons. Thousands of cars are passing by every moment. Then I could not belong to the community and I could not make any connection with my hometown with high buildings. I was a very shy girl and a little over a meter tall, but I grew older. I stopped looking at buildings because I found people. I realized that human activity shapes the city, how human activities and figures could be connected to the concept of architecture. This was the beginning of my architecture journey. So this is a housing project that I worked on in my graduate lab under my professor. It is a very small house near the sea, a residence for two older couples. The design members were only my professor and myself and one classmate. It's the interior of this house, and we interviewed the client about what they intended to spend their days doing, and then designed the house by connecting these actions together like a necklace of parts. Then it is a very private, minimalist architecture. You can see the plan and the section and the location. Like, also, it's the photos of interior. Then, so this is this is interior photos. Then this one, this is a senior graduate project, a house for a family of three. Couple and the middle school boy in the city in Chiba Prefecture next to Tokyo. The house was designed to be the maximum square footage that could legally be built on the lot. The previous house I showed aimed for the minimum, and this is the maximum one. It's a living room. Then this is the glass stairs and the boys' room and the dining room also. Then after graduation, I enrolled in Itojuku, a private school for working adults newly created by architect Toyo Ito. It was just when the Great East Earthquake occurred in Japan. As a member of the Itojuku team, I went to the disaster area to work with the local government and the people of the city where everything had been gone away by the tsunami to come up with a new urban planning. This is the article of the magazine at that time. Then this was a completely different experience from the architecture I had studied before. In one case at the disaster area, they were reduced to a pile of rural waste. The city still had a shelter of strong structural architecture that was still standing, but all the people inside had died. It was very shocking to see that only the architecture survived and not the people. We worked on this project for a year. Okay, then so I want to talk about the exhibitions. Since 2014, I have been doing a lot of exhibition work. The exhibition, the under 35 years old young architects exhibition is a popular competition to select the 7 best young architects working in Japan. The jury was made up of middle generation architects, just one generation older than us, including So Fujimoto and Junior Ishigami and others. I was selected for one of them and had a group exhibition and some talk events also at the World Trade Center in Osaka. Many students who came. It's the entrance of the exhibition. Oh, sorry. This is the. It doesn't work. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's at the entrance of the exhibition of under 35 young architect exhibition, and there is the event. Yeah, there are so many students came to see our exhibition from all Japan. It's also the artworks and like that, like that. Yeah, it's a plan plan of the exhibition venue, but something happened. Okay, so that is the model of the exhibition, and you can see that my booth is there. Then, okay, it's under construction. Yeah, I prepared the exhibition with my friend. That guy wear the red t-shirt. Then, yeah, yes, students came to my one-to-one model and see inside and they enter the exhibition like that. And it's a housing project. Yeah, here are a few of works that were exhibited. It's also housing exhibition with electrics, structure, and the one and the innovation and the planning of it's a small house for family, the couple and the two children, and it's a section like this. It's a living room. It's a seems outside, but actually there are some glass roofs, and so it's really comfortable inside. And the living room and the study room. Yeah. Then next one is my work exhibition. Traveling snail house. It's a safe-built mobile house with a few requirements. You know that I can sleep here, and I can read books and eat something, and I can invite friends over for tea. Then it's the concept model, and it's also under the construction. It's a self-built, so I made this small house by myself. Then I actually pulled this small snail house like a cart, and they traveled around different environments such as cities and forests you can see, and the residential area. The small architecture was transformed into playground and furniture, and the architecture also depending on the place and the activities of the people. It's like a window, huh? So it's also it's in the park, and it's like a really architecture, but it's also next to the pond, and it's a residential area in my hometown, and almost yeah, especially children came inside this snail house, and they use like a play sculpture, like that. Yeah, it's actually the playground like that for Then after my trip, I brought snail house into my small apartment in Shibuya city. And you can see that it's the interior of this very small house, and you can see the turtle. You can see my pet, small turtle, lives with me. Then it is a planning. You can see the snail house in the center of my room. Then there are some doors to connect to the entrance and the balcony and the bathroom and my brother's room or living and I want observe that. Yeah, it's this one. Yeah, I lived in and like that and you can see with my activity the snail house can be furniture and maybe the really weak architecture or anything like that. My small brother lived in the next room. He seemed not so happy, but I kept observing changing the snail house with my life activities. Then you can see also that I exhibited a small screen with my animation. Yeah, the title is the old woman create a primitive architecture with her daily activity. How I can play this? Can you control to play this video? Just push the button of play. Yeah. Yeah, the one old woman wake up in the morning on her bed and do something, wash her face or cook something. So the architecture is created by her own activities. Yeah, it's that my animation and I draw 5,000 plan drawing and I connected them into one animation. Yeah. Then
Maybe 5 minutes ya. Iya, atau GoFund.
Okay, so it's a timescape exhibition. It's a different one. Really? It's also the video, YouTube video, and you can play that. Yeah. Yeah. You can see the just stand for the models of the housing project, but it's waiting, always waiting. We put the acrylic stand, it's a really small and a brick stand, and just put really soft veneer material. And we try to create an environment in this small journalist space. Yeah. And so, okay, I will go next. base and study how we can stand so soft material and how the lecture and it's next one of the exhibition in Tohoku University and so spot in Japan and the year after some exhibitions I became a researcher at the University of Tokyo and was in charge of the preservation and the renovation of the university's general library, which was 97 years old at the time. This picture is overall a view after preservation and renovation. The architecture looks like really a giant robot, you know. Then this is before the renovation. You can see that it's really an old historical building. This is a section view and I walked for the main building on the right side, and on the left side it's Fontaine Plaza, where a huge new underground book storage, 40 meters below ground level was built. So then it's the exterior and the interior after renovation. The library still keep the historical relief of the composition, you know, stairwells and something. And so the preserved entrance and the newly constructed entrance we designed. Okay, so in 2017, when the library design was almost finished, I quit my position as a researcher and I went to Denmark. I went to Copenhagen to attend as a solution maker in the first year of an innovation lab called Unleash, which was launched by the United Nations in 2015 to propose the Sustainable Development Goals agenda. From all over the world, thousands of professionals, entrepreneurs, researchers, and educators, and architects who had won the competition were brought together like that. Yeah, organizers formed teams in each the area of the SDGs agenda to share the solution making on the various issues that are happening around the world. And if I was assigned to sustainable cities, where I shared our experience in Japan, from the Great East Japan earthquake, and the created solution for the waste management of their natural disaster. Yeah, this was a workshop, kind of workshop, so the short period, but it was a great experience to work with a great team of like a Monday, designed by Stephen Hall. And you can see a part of exterior wall floats like this. Then there was a very unique person, Eva French, who became the director of the AA school now, and under her I learned several interesting exhibitions. Then so maybe I have no time for so just make slideshow like that. Yeah, we had an exhibition and a party event with the civic people because it's the free gallery for public. So that's also live performance, you know? Okay. Yeah. Then so I wanna talk about this a bit. It's my own project. In 2018, I returned to the Japan and the old project of renovation of that apartment. You can see that building with many I believe it was little over 40 years was covered with, this thinly sliced red brick exterior material. The structure was still okay, but the mortar bond used to fasten the bricks to the structure wall was aging and causing the bricks to fall. Such problems are frequent and growing over this age in Japan. And then so I wanted to preserve the memory of how the carpenters pasted the bricks one by one 40 years ago, because there I found trace of their workmanship. As I said at the beginning, part of my presentation, my architecture activity is to connect architecture with people's action. It was a very difficult project, and because I applied a new material, many errors happened. Then construction company finally escaped away. Then so I decided to become a carpenter. Do you see it? That me, painting the wall on the fifth floor by myself. I worked so carefully, and I and my one carpenter finished the painting the whole building together.
Maybe one more minute.
Okay, so it's a whole of the building, and you can see it is the apartment with memories of the carpentry works. Okay, just 1 minute. I want to show my educational activity, and now I am currently an adjunct lecturer at the National Art University and the student of the Pratt Institute of New York. Such no presentation like that, and it's a Pratt Institute. They usually come to Japan during summer, and they have something, and it's a picture of the Architectural Student Jamboree 2018. Also, it's a Shanghai convention. And I became to the committee member of JIA, International Communications Committee member of JIA also, and joined the Architecture, the young committee, young architect committee, and joined attended the summer convention from last year. Then so could you return a bit? That's what last one. Last page. Oh. Okay, so thank you for listening for so long time. And my message to you through my talk, just show the picture of that. Yeah, this one, this picture. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. Maybe the last one from Mr. Baritoadi.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, thank you very much for the time. Hello, Pak Dini. Welcome to Jakarta. And all students, hope you still have courage to following the presentation. So, actually, when we are talking about this event, we are talking about some theme that is quite diverse, so we can present anything that fit to the topic. But I got confused, like, what should I talk? Because it's very, very open. So I'm thinking about you that most of you is the student from the IDS, Integrated Design Studio, where you have to work on living unit, mostly on design integration. So I hope this can give also to my professional working on my own firm, PT Surya Musa and Global Prima. We start on 2004. Now, but thanks God we can develop up to this far. So just some of my small project comparing to Mikako's project. It's like house for this project, for her project. What I like to talk is I like to highlight the AAC multidisciplinary integration with BIM, mostly in the Autodesk Revit, and I like to express some of my experience working with BIM, implementing this BIM workflow. So we know in theory that when we're talking about BIM, it should be something that is very comprehensive, that we can cover everything, and we can work with BIM on plan, design, construct, and manage afterwards after it's being built. And of course, we are always talk about collaboration and integration, because like in BIM, one like structural engineer or the mechanical engineer as well as architect will use the same platform. Everything will connect to one system or the BIM, and then everything is like ready to go. So there will be three pillars, like people, process, and technology. And it covers a range of phases, of project phase, starting from the pre-design up to the maintenance and management. In Indonesia, using BIM is already mandatory for several types of project or certain scales of projects. If we have the project with the criteria of so-called the technologically advanced project, or on the certain sizes that you have to do BIM certain up to certain dimension. So there are something that is called dimension in BIM. We can call it from 3D to 8D. Well, actually, internationally recognized is only 7D, but Indonesia adding one more dimension. So yes, because we are Indonesian, we need to add something. So-called the emergency plan and so on. And another mandatory practice for BIM, they do some scoring, depend on how complete you can provide things in the BIM. Like basic models, you just get 3, and if you can have more integrated product, or you do the environment, like working on the certain environment in BIM, so you got another point and etc. But how we are going to work in reality, it's not really a so-called best practice. Maybe it's just normal practice. I think I also need to learn more about doing this or working with the BIM platform, but hopefully we can learn something together. I like to talk about 3 projects that we've currently developed on using the BIM system. One is the office, and the second is the a kind of office, but it's for the like training facilities, and last one is mosque. When we are working with this office, things that you need to pay attention, that there are 2 companies involved. So there are rarely only like one architect working on their own, like you do your assignment. So you are better than us in the working ethic. You work by yourself doing all of those products that we do it like with more people. So there are 2 companies. One is the in charge for the architecture and leading, and the MEP engineering and BIM. The second one doing the structural engineer, BIM structure, and the BIM architecture. So when we are doing the conceptual development phase, the firm one or the company one, they are using SketchUp, but the SketchUp is developed quite extensive, so it's quite detailed. So we can have the interior parts, we can have the detailed parts. So everything is done in 3D. So it's like doing BIM but with SketchUp. I don't know why, but that's what happened. Maybe it's more convenient to the companies. So it's just illustrating how detailed that they are developed. But the other companies starting to provide the BIM structure, then the structure connected to the SketchUp. So rather than connecting to the BIM altogether at the first place, it connects with the SketchUp. So the structure sent to IFC and join with SketchUp. Therefore, if you do something like this, like you cut the building, you can see the details there, like there's a structure and etc. So this is the Revit structure that's sent to the SketchUp to become the base of the design. So when they do the consolidation, mostly after the design phase is being fixed, so it's all together to the Revit, but they're doing, I call it like a manual. So like this is communication between team. I just ask them to send it to me, like how they communicating each other. So they just make annotation one and another. And this is the result when the multidisciplinary aspect integrated on one building on this particular project. So this is the structure. So this one is previously this is all together architecture, structure, MEP. This is taking out the building skin, letting the structure and plumbing only. So in detail, if you do section, you can see the parts, like there's like the underground water tank, there's a pipe, there's a roof structure. So everything integrated as one virtual building. So if you cut in certain parts, you can see that. And this is the final visualization that made from Revit model. So it's pretty detailed, and this is what you expect to be built. And this is the design documentation. Everything is done by Revit. This is by Revit, but on certain details we put the CAD files. So when you open the Revit files, inside there are drawings that came from AutoCAD. A bit cheating maybe, because there's some difficulties drawing this concrete or reinforced. So this is everything in CAD, but putting inside Revit. So in this project, what I like to share with you is the company one, they're producing the SketchUp form. Altogether, they have interact with the BIM structure. And when they go to the design development and for construction drawing, everything will be led by this BIM structure, architecture and structure. But the MEP team, which came from the company number one, and the structural detail, which provided by the company number two, the structural section, they all together fit this file. So the final deliverables construction drawing will be in Revit or BIM, but inside you have CAD from certain details. So this is what happened in the project number one. This is project number two. It's previously we have private clients, but now we have governmental clients. from Ministry of Civil Work. So now we are dealing with 4 companies. Like previously we have 2, now we have 4. So the company 1 is the leading company doing BIM architecture and structure, also doing the BIM MEP but outsourcing. So in one company but another company, so we outsourcing. And we have company 3 is structural engineer only, and company number 4 MEP engineer only. Because basically this project we hire as a personal expert. So there's a personal expert from structure hired by the government. There's a MEP hired personally, and etc. So in development phase, so maybe just a little bit about the project. So this is the location in Buldan. So basically this is a building who had been burned. So everything is very messy. What left is only the structure. Okay, so everything will be removed. The architecture parts will be all removed, and we retain the structural elements, but we put like strengthen the existing building by doing jacketing or things like that. What we do first is we have the BIM for existing structure. So because the structure will be the basis for all development, because in this case we retain these physical features. So this came first, and then during the design area, we do SketchUp also, and some floor plan made by AutoCAD. But everything in based on the structural BIM.
Maybe 3 minutes again.
Yep.
3 minutes.
Maybe up to 9. Okay, and then when we do the design development, because this is the governmental project, so we have to do by the BIM system. So we use Autodesk Navisworks integration. So this is illustration of so-called flash detection, where we can detect certain elements in our building that is interfere one and another. So in here we have a report. This report can be sent or studied by all people who need this and fixing the mistakes of the drawing. And this is the multidisciplinary integration in Revit. So if you have the section, you can see there's the structural, the roof structure. There's also architecture and MEP. If we have this, you can see there is the HVAC or the air conditioning, and the pipe. Everything is there. So it's like the virtual building. So this is just some illustration of the lavatory area, where you can see all the pipes is broken, presenting the real project later on. And the final visualization is also came from the Revit model. The design documentation we do mostly in Revit as well, but as previously, some drawing also came from CAD, and all the engineers, they also give us the CAD files. So here we got a little bit more complex than the previous one. So I think the structure and the architecture, as previously we using another models, but in the end everything put together on BIM models. But you can see the other engineer also give us the drawing, and then we can compile all in one file. Last one is MOS. Actually, this MOS is designed by famous architect, not me, of course, Ridwan Kamil. Maybe you heard that. We have for company as well. As you know that Pak Ridwan Kamil is very famous for his design. So the government asked him to design, and then we have the chance to develop the design. So this is the what we get from Pak Ridwan and his team. So there's a basic model. So we have this basic model. We get the SketchUp files, and if we do the section, so it's not really detailed, but at the same time, it's already give you clue of what is going on there. We also have the programming and floor plan, only this. So we don't have any measured floor plans like in CAD files. We just get PPT, and then we are on our own to continue. So in the consolidation part, the team doing remodel. So from the first model, doing remodel, because the BIM team they didn't quite able to complete this because it's pretty complex. It's using some kind of module and other technique, so it's very difficult to do in Revit according to the BIM team. And so the other team do the SketchUp to help the BIM team. So to make more detailed drawing to be developed, and we don't use really like clash detection, etc. So it's Revit manually, but because too many corrections to the BIM drawing, but the project still going on, the time is very short. You can see this illustrating the many correction to the BIM team. Still we have integration, but up to the structural, because it's pretty complex. So there's a dome structure with waffle plafond or ceiling. So it's quite confusing actually. So the design documentation is done by AutoCAD. So where is Revit? So Revit, after the second part of consolidation, the time is not enough, and the team go with CAD documentation. After the CAD files is done, and the Revit being remodeled based on that CAD. While the Revit being remodeled, the building is being built, and the building is finished, the BIM file is not ready. So what's the purpose of using BIM at this? But this is not the first time I heard the same. I heard a project of design and build hospital. The hospital is done, the BIM is not. So my last thought on this experience, first to excuse, because of course we cannot blame this system and say, okay, so I don't want to use Revit or BIM for this integration. I think from here I learned to correct the workflow. Hopefully we can have a better outcome. For me, it's useful to have existing model and BIM structure. So when we finishing our design, we can finalize the BIM structure model to be based for the design. And as complexity is differ from project to project, I think software flexibility and interchangeable is very important. So you don't have to strictly using one software, because maybe it's easier for you to make with another software and later on combine. And of course, managing time and resources. First, we have to get this building culture on BIM, so like everyone already agree that we use BIM, because otherwise maybe some person still loves SketchUp, one still loves AutoCAD and say no to Revit, for example. I think we have to change that if we really want to implement this workflow. And the design integration mindset. Okay, so in the end, I believe that these three element is very important, and in reality, this is the things that really matter to fully implement it. Okay, thank you much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
gitu untuk presentasinya. That's all for the presentation. Maybe we'll move on to the three lucky people that can ask question from all the three presenters that have been presented. Ya, jadi mungkin bisa tanya satu termin aja mungkin karena kita sudah lumayan sore, kelihatannya udah pada ngantuk-ngantuk gini kan. Jadi mungkin ada yang bertanya 3 orang bebas. Bahasa Indonesia boleh nanti dibantu. Ya, 1, 2, 3. Ya, mungkin mahasiswanya dulu ya. Mungkin dari mbaknya dulu yang di belakang. Ini dari kelihatannya PPAR. Silakan.
Thank you for all the speakers that has already delivered the interesting matters today. My question is for architect Mikako Oshima. When we look at the facade of the developed urban area like Tokyo or Beijing or New York, most of us will only focus on the advanced development like grand commercial development or integrated transportation facility. Meanwhile, if we look at the bigger picture, there will be always the left side of the area, such as unorganized area or slum or scattered settlements. What I would like to ask you, during your career, have you ever designed this kind of slum or unorganized area? If yes, would you like to share with us how you or what the design approach that you use on that design? Thank you.
Yeah, maybe you can answer.
Thank you. I personally haven't done any specific work in the slum area, but yes, I have done a project in India. I worked on the project Mumbai Airport, for example. So that's as far as I could go for. But for example, in Osaka, our firm recently finished one of the hotel. It's a local hotel operator called Hoshino Resort. They have a lot of good onsen or hotels that they provide. And this was actually built right next to the one of the sort of slum area of Osaka. But as this brand came into this area, and then we started working on this project. Now this project became kind of symbol of that area. And then because of this hotel, new people started going that area, and that area became getting popular again. So this is kind of surprising me that one architecture building can improve the neighborhood or can influence the neighborhood in a better way. So architecture has that power, and I believe it very much. So when you have such a difficult condition, when you have a site, think about how this building can improve the neighborhood. And that can, gives a new neighborhood or community, or sometimes it's kind of catchy or trendy, to have a project in such an environment. And as since the first one, okay, today I have a gift here. I have 8 books here. This is a journal we publish every year for our clients, mainly focus on a project abroad in Asia. So now I have 8 here, so one goes to her. Being super brave, being the first speaker. What is the name? Thank you. Here's the next one.
Okay, that's very nice surprise. From Mikako. Okay, the next one.
So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon. My name is Andini, and I think it was a very interesting presentation, and it is really insightful for all of us. I would like to ask, but before, I think it is the walkable city of Japan is really interesting, and it's obviously environmental friendly. And I think it's fun if we could walk anywhere around the city. And as we all know, Indonesia has one of the most population in the world right now. And but the public transportation is still very limited, and it is still outnumbered by the private cars and motorcycles. So I would like to know if is there any way we could implement the concept of walkable city in Indonesia, and how are the design strategies to build a comfortable walkable city. That is all. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a good question. Actually, this morning I was talking at the Modern University, and one of the students asked me, "What if you want to do a walkable city in a hot climate?" That's a serious topic that I have to think about it. But for example, when I was kind of like going around neighborhoods by car last night, what was the neighborhood? The neighborhood is very popular. Marioboro, it's very nice place to walk around, no? So you already achieved it. Okay, the public transportation is one difficult one. You have to get the local government involved and things like this. And it's a kind of pity because I heard that in Jakarta you have a subway, new subway, but private developer decided to not to connect to the subway. So it's a pity because it's such a successful thing for Japan. And basically that private developer is not supporting the subway system, no? So as an architect, maybe like you have a bus or something like that, but definitely it's like combination where you have to have the less population, less vehicles to make the bus system works and things like this. So maybe it's quite challenging for at the moment, but as some of you might be working for the government, for example, or local authorities, you can start thinking about your future. Now the population is growing, so the number of cars goes increase more. But before you end up being like a country like Bangladesh has like huge traffic going to one place to another. It takes like in Japan could be 5 minutes, but it takes like half an hour or even like 3 hours. So think about how your future can be. Then you start proposing things. Also, when you do even a small project or a large project, you can provide some like nice place to walk around or a nice space to hang out. And you can always propose that. And he was telling me that nowadays also the local developers starting having open spaces. So as an architect and think about the future city, and you have a building and then you can talk to the architect next to it and try to make the open space together. And then maybe like the architect who works next block can be your friend sitting next to you, So try to collaborate, don't work by yourself, and the architecture never be done by yourself. You have to always collaborate with people or collaborate with contractor, architect, city, and don't be shy to speak up, and that could be my answer. Anyone can get this book, you have to ask a question to this side, okay?
Okay, last one.
Okay, test. Hi, my name is Rafi, and firstly, I would like to say that the presentation was very interesting and it was a great insight. So I have one question for, again, architect Mikako Oshima. Throughout the presentation, you showed us about how big the Tokyo metropolitan area, and I've noticed one thing, that both Tokyo and Jakarta, the capital, has a big similarity. I think we also have the same idea of Jakarta metropolitan area, or as we call Jabodetabek. So I think that during this time and during this era, environmental concerns are being debated and being concerned, right? So both similarities having less land area and high density. So throughout your project, do you have any strategy or design idea to promote sustainability and ensure the green, even though there are less land area and there are some obstacles you have to face during the project? So I think that's my question. Thank you.
Yes, today I didn't show you the detail of this Toranomon Hills project. It's a tower that currently we have offices. That's a huge kind of land that we were provided. And then the neighborhood building is like this scale, no? Then the earlier project, the development, we are discussing having 3 buildings. Then having open space here. Then at some point, someone realized that why don't we put this 3 building into the 1 building? So basically, we start this 3 building. Instead of having this 3 building, we decided to go like one top of each other, like so. So you get a more open space. So that's one thing of having 3 buildings. The construction cost gets lower, and then also the building itself sustains better. So that was one of the strategies what we did. What do you think? Okay, next time I will show you that presentation. So you have to invite me again here.
Okay, maybe we can add some few more questions.
So every time everybody you have to say no.
That's a very kind message. So because we have time, unlikely you won't get the prize, but maybe we can add 2 more questions. Anybody want to ask another question? Okay, the first one in front first. Monggo.
Hello, my name is Imran Effendi from Professional Architecture Student. I have 2 questions from architect Mikako Oshima. The first one is how did you make a design approach when your project is around the world? And then there is a lot of different types, different characters, and many more. And how you can be fit on them. And number 2, I see in your presentation there are several rebuild projects, which means you move that building into another site. My question is what happened on the previous site? And then I also have question to Mr. Baritoadi. My question is there is many software that used in one project, and of course it takes a long time to get done. And how to tell the client about the times? I think just thank you.
First question, how my design come up from in the world? Yes, it's a good question. Sometimes I design building where the place that I never been, but there's always like some answer or some hint on the site. So you always have to look at the site, and then also you have to research what the neighborhood like, what the culture look like, and that's like my the day one starts, Then you start talking to the client, you always ask what do you want, and then try to catch some word, what they really want. Also the experience what we have, for example, when you do a hospital or schools, you have an experience, and then my office has experience, so we can learn from the past as well. Never copy, but get inspired, So that's like the first time when I have a project, I start thinking about it. So then going back to your question that the first hint or the inspiration comes from the site always from me. And second one was in the project I showed, the first one we moved, so we kind of relocate one to another, no? So we have the time schedule. So when first one finished it, and then after they move, because it's a public building, you have to have the operation. We cannot close the building for a while, no? So this have to operate even they have a construction. So when they are building it to the new site, this all the building is still functioning as it's supposed to be. And once they move everything, they can open this one, and then they can close this one, and then they're gonna tear it down. Then the next one still functioning now. Then once this is finished, and they can move in, so they can function. It's the same thing as working, for example, the hospitals, or I've done the 3 airport in the past. The 3 airport, we cannot close the airport, no? So you have to have this business continuity plan also while you are designing it. So sometimes not just designing a building, you have to think about with your client how to operate the building if the building cannot close, you know. The same in the house. If you build a house, when you are building it, you have to have a temporary house somewhere, no? But we tend to be doing that in a larger scale, but basically it's the same thing. You have to have a temporary or a current building has to function. Is that good?
Okay, thank you for the question. If it's about asking client for additional time, that's quite challenging. So first, what we need to understand when we are on the say if we are dealing the project with client, we need to understand what the client's requirement. So in the very early stage, when client, for example, expressing the need of BIM, as you mentioned about the software is difficult and take a long time to finish. So when we're dealing with such project, on the contractual phase, we need to calculate the time we need because of that. So once we have it done by the contracts, then we can rely on that. So, but if it's come to, for example, we already have a dealing of certain time to finish the project, but we have problem with software. I think that's pretty difficult to discuss because the client has their own timeline, maybe because they want to go to bank, to financing the project and etc. So then we internally, like we are the team, needs to think about how to solve that. Like I tried to show before, we do outsourcing, we do the like a little bit bigger team rather than only doing by ourselves. That's also one strategy to keep up with target of the time. Thank you.
Okay, maybe one last question. Yeah.
皆さんこんにちは。私の名前はみくまるです。それと4年間日本に住んだので、京都宇治で住みました。それと日本語に聞きたいけどメモを読みます。小学校の頃だから日本語はもうペラペラじゃない。はい、Oshimaさんへの一番の質問はOshimaさんへ。東京駅、それと日本橋の建設は駅がまだ営業しているままにどのように行われていますか。それと伊藤さんの質問、 にはジョグジャに小さな家を建てることに興味がありますか？ここで竹の可能性を見るのはとても素晴らしいことです。それで竹のパネルの構成されたモジュール的なメソッドを竹の建物によく似ています。そのような可能性をどのように見ますか？はい、それとすみません、僕の言葉が間違っていたらすみません、はい、ありがとうございます。
Impressive. He said, "How did you operate the Tokyo Station the renovation?" But I didn't work on that project, so I cannot really say the details. But as the Tokyo Station had to function, as I said, and so it's same thing is happening in Shinjuku Station now. Shinjuku is one of the biggest terminal stations in the world. 4 million people use the Shinjuku Station every day. And it's the same thing. We have to operate the station while we are building it. So they definitely partially they close and then they give away to go. Also, what they do is they work at night. For example, in the Nakano train station, also the project I showed, that station is also building a new station tower. So the contractor is allowed to work from 1 a.m. to 4 p.m. So that's the only time you can walk over the train rail tracks. So of course the construction time is limited, but somehow that partially they close or sometimes they change the entrance and things like this. And that's how they do the construction in the train stations. Okay. Very good. とても上手です。
Thank you, and arigato. So thank you so much for your great speech. Great question in Japanese. Your Japanese is really nice. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to hear that. And then, yeah, and he's asking about do you how to say? Are you interested in making a small house in Jogja, right? And also how do you think about the possibility to use a bamboo material for the design work for this tiny house, right? Yeah, and actually I'm so interested in design something architecture in Georgia. It really, it really sounds so interesting because here is Georgia is really historical city, and you have the palace and the World Heritage Site. Also, there's so many historical buildings here. Then so I really learn about your city and the history, vernacular architecture. And then so, anyway, in my university, Musashi Art University in Tokyo, the students often try to use bamboo material to make structure. And for the artworks, also the tiny, the study model house, also the exterior and also interior. It's we are Asian people and we are so familiar with the bamboo material. Then so I really interested in the use bamboo. Also the wanna respect your the vernacular architecture and the culture, the activity of people with that material here. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Your Japanese is good enough, so you can apply my office.
Okay, I guess that's it. Thank you for the really wonderful and quality question. Maybe one last thing before I close. this session. Maybe we can have a photo together. So I invite the speaker to have a seat in front, and maybe the one in the back can stand up a bit. Yeah, maybe we can come in together because the side cannot be seen. Ya mungkin bisa merapat ke tengah teman-teman. Ya duduknya asik banget. Ya bisa berdiri mendekat ke tengah. Ya kalau nggak duduk nggak apa-apa. Dalam. Ya mungkin bisa merapat ke depan biar kakinya nggak pegel juga. Yang di pojok-pojok bisa ke tengah. Kalau saya nanti main teman saya sendiri cuma itu. Oke. I guess it's fine.
Once again. Ready? 1, 2, 3, smile. Bye. Once again, smile, smile. Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay.
Satu, dua, tiga. We are UI future. Okay, now for finally target for video. Yeah, man. We are UE future.
Okay, maybe thank you for the session, for the invited speakers. See you again in the next ArchitecTalk. Ketemu lagi di ArchitecTalk berikutnya. Ketemu mana dengan ArchitecTalk Sanarte. Sejumlah ArchitecTalk ini mata gue Oshima show. I'm going to give it back to Mbak Anissa. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Brian and all the speakers, Architect Mikako Oshima, Architect Yuki, and Architect Baritoadi. Give us applause to all the speakers. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we finally come to the end of today's agenda. Let us close the seminar by reciting Hamdalah. Thank you so much for your attention. See you on the next occasion. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.